So I've been looking at some of my past videos recently and I realized that I keep chopping off the top of my head. Okay, that's better. Hi there everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff with no head chop off. Yay! How's it going? It's going here. We're having a bit of an interesting day here in my house. Thor is really not feeling very well. He got sick this morning, and to be honest, it was probably because he swallowed a piece of bottle or something and his stomach is trying to get rid of it. But because he does that, he doesn't eat. And if he doesn't eat, then he gets sick some more. So, yeah, my baby's not feeling so good. I've got him really set up out in the living room right now. Our floors are, they're not hardwood, but they're like wood paneling. And it's a lot easier to clean up than here on the carpet. So I've got him out there, but I have him set up. So our sofa is a long sectional, leather sectional, and Danny's seat is his favorite spot, I should say, is next to the window that faces our backyard, right there. And that's Thor's favorite spot because the sun comes in that window and he likes laying in the sun. So I've got like a blanket laid on the spot just in case he gets sick while he's sitting out there. And he's got a bottle to chew if he gets the urge. A new one, not one that's going to fracture. And so there's probably going to be some pauses in this video so that I can go check on him. Just make sure that he's okay. It happens every now and again. The thing with bulldogs is that it's like you don't want to feed them so much because weight can be an issue with bulldogs, and especially since they carry it all up here, their hips suffer the consequences for it. So you have to watch how much they eat, but they also have to have enough to survive on. And Thor in particular, if he doesn't have breakfast in the morning, he gets sick. And so, unfortunately, he's a lot like people are. You know, if you get sick, you don't want to eat anything. So, anyway, that's what's happening here today. Sick bulldog. I'm going to insert a couple of pictures. Probably you've already seen them while I'm doing this spiel of him being cute and adorable and looking sickly and laying on the sofa. So I will insert those. But it is Wednesday, he's okay, and it's time for me to talk cross stitch for the last week. Plus, it's like a really excellent time for me. Knock on wood, my nose doesn't itch so bad right now. We'll see how long that lasts. Take a quick sip. I made sure to wear a shirt today that won't proclaim that I am a tart. Claire pointed out that in one of my videos I was wearing the Start Jumping Virginia Tech t-shirt, and my hair was laying over the S. So I wore a big sign that said tart. That's funny. So I made sure to still wear a VT shirt, but not imply anything of the sort. So there's that. So let's get started. What do I have to talk to you about? I have some whips. I have 3 new starts from last week that I'm going to talk to you about. Plans for next week. Some further down the road plans. And then very small bit of haul and 1 book to talk to you about. So let's get on with it, shall we? Okay. So the first thing I have to show you is my Heaven and Earth design. Last week, you will remember, was my week 2, which is a Heaven and Earth Designs week. And I have been working on April by Anna Dittman. This is my piece for the third Heaven and Earth Designs challenge, which is parking. And I set ridiculous goals of I lost what I wanted there. Maybe not. Okay. I set ridiculous goals of getting the page finished. That didn't happen. And then last week I was like, I'm going to try to get 4 more rows done. That didn't happen. You know, in 3 days I managed to put in 3 more rows. So I'm not complaining. I got to the halfway point. But it wasn't quite my goal. So it's still on the frame on the off chance that I happen to find some free stitching time so that I can put some more into that and try to get that thing done. So go ahead and bring that over here. By the way, to everybody who sent me well wishes and said such awesome things after I talked about NMH last week, thank you so much for that. All good. No issues since. I am back on making sure that I'm getting fluids and eating when I'm supposed to, and I'm not taking ridiculously long showers. So, got to be better about taking care of me, you know. Okay, so I got this turned around, so this is the, I'm gonna let this bottom bar drop, there we go. So this is the progress that I made. And yeah, I'm in the blue sky background. What more is there? I do really love this challenge. It's helping me knock out a lot of this really boring sort of pale blue off-white color. It's helping me knock a lot of that out quickly. I think I have done 3 blocks where it was all just one color. But it's only 1 square, so it's like it goes really fast. So anyway, I do love this method of stitching. One thing I did notice, and you may be able to see it from back there. So this first page I did for challenge 2, which was cross country, it is so much tighter, and you can see the difference. This parking one, there's almost like a height difference. Like you almost might think that I'm stitching on the wrong row, but I'm not. It's like the cross country just like tensioned up the fabric so much and pulled it in so much tighter. Whereas this parking is like much more loose and not so strained, I guess. Which is probably pretty accurate and might be related to my feelings on the stitching of it, because as you guys know, I did not like that cross country, and so I might have been angry, and I wasn't angry, but like I was pulling tighter than I could have. Whereas this, I'm like, oh, this is lovely, and I'm just stitching. So anyway, there's that. Like I said, I will get back to this. If not now, then my Heaven and Earth Designs week in September, because got to get the challenge done. But I only have 4.5 rows left to go. Gosh, this fabric goes for days. I'm just going to roll it up. I only have 4.5 rows left to go. The most bottom row, I think, is 8 stitches deep, so it's not a full row, it doesn't count. So there's that. Okay. Next, I have, let's see, on Friday, for the Stitch Mania Summer Olympics Challenge, it was the Triathlon Challenge. And for me, I chose to start 3 new projects that will be used later on down the line. I've already shown them in my update video from, I believe Friday actually. I think I put that one up on Friday. So I've already shown these to you, but I thought that I should bring them into this because new starts, I don't know, I just feel like they need to be in here. So whatever, that's what I'm doing. So these aren't, actually yes they are. Okay, these are in the order that I started them. So first, now each of these got roughly an hour, but this one in particular got a little bit more. So the first one I started is Double Double, and it is by the Prairie Schooler. And I am so not used to this like card format Prairie Schooler. The pattern is on the back of this card. Now the chart calls for, let's see, the black there is DMC 3371. Not feeling that. I was thinking I want it to be actually black. And because of the fabric that I'm stitching on, I know that I needed Anchor 403, which is the Anchor Black, because it's just a little bit of a plumper thread. Is that the best word? I hate that word, but it is. It's got better coverage. So that's what I'm stitching it with. So the fabric, like I mentioned, it is the 30 count parchment linen that I had used to start the Gryffindor crust that I still haven't ripped out. But this is 30 count parchment linen. It's by Weeks Dye Works. And I have enough on this fabric that I don't have to unstitch that unless I decide I want to use that part of the fabric. So let me go ahead and fold this up and I'll show it to you. 30 count is such an odd count of fabric. It's just, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. So fold this up. I was having a splendid stitching day on Friday because I discovered that the entire album of Wicked with Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel is on YouTube, and you can just hit play and it plays through the whole thing. Obviously the speaking bits are removed. It's just the music of Wicked the musical, but I'm like singing along and stitching. Oh, it was spectacular. So here's what happened. I stitched down this line and I'm like, I'm not stitching in these blocks this whole time. So I'm gonna work the lizard. So I'm like, okay, my hour was ending up about there. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna just leave like a mostly finished lizard, so let me finish the lizard. And that thread ended here. You see where this is going? So I was like, fine, I'll just finish the snake. And it actually worked out perfectly. I used up the right amount of thread and I got that far down. And that is about to this point here. So you can see it's not a very tall pattern. Not at all. It's are the dimensions here? There we go. 75 wide by 97 high. So very, very small. So that is that on the parchment linen. I'd originally picked a 28 count white Jovelin for this, but I kind of thought that's really not the best option. So this is my winner. And this will make another appearance later on in the Olympics events, hence the reason I made these 3 starts, because I needed them to fill those requirements. So this one will fill the flames because, as I stated in my update video, that cauldron ain't bubbling itself. So there's that. Okay. Alright, next, and you'll be seeing a preview image of it here, I started the Skeleton Key. This is from the 2016 Halloween issue of Just Cross Stitch, and it is by Stitchy Fish Designs, who is Lee Fisher. She's actually on I think she's on the Stitch Mania group, so that's kind of cool. This one I started for the event that's coming up, the Copper Bronze challenge for the Olympics challenge. This fabric is Cyprium by Picture This Plus. And it is way more orange than it's showing there, or way more copper and bronze. So the description for this on 123 Stitch says something to the effect of a perfect blend of copper and bronze, think autumn leaves. I'm like, well, that counts. So I hemmed and hawed about this Skeleton Key. I love this design because it's simple, but like I love even the way that Just Cross Stitch finished it with the with the pillow with the key ornaments on it. I think that's super cool. So I hemmed and hawed about this. I'm like, do I stitch it just in solid black? Like with Anchor 403, so you get that depth of color? Do I stitch it in beads? No, not really. That's not really the right way to get that color. So I thought, well, it's a key, so it could be sparkly. But since I had already ruled out the beads, it suddenly came to me, dawned on me, black Kreinik. And I knew that I had some black Kreinik left over from my Winter White Santa that I did almost 3 years ago. Oh my goodness. So I knew I had some of that left over. So I pulled that out and I'm like, this is perfect because it's going to be black and sparkly and it'll be great. Well, I'm going to rip these stitches out because I was quickly reminded of that black. Now you may be able to see it here. Do you see how, particularly on this side right here, how it's really thin? This Kreinik, I don't like it. I may order a black Petite Treasure braid to stitch it instead. Or I may do what I did with Winter White Santa, which is I blended the black Kreinik with a strand of DMC black so that you still got the hint of the sparkle, but didn't have to suffer the consequences of either it being too thin, like it is now, or being too unwieldy, like stitching Kreinik with 2 strands. Ain't nobody got time for that. So, yeah. So those are my plans. Either black Petite Treasure braid or blended. I may do it blended because I kind of like the idea of it being sparkly, but not overly sparkly. You know what I'm saying? And Petite Treasure braid can be sparkly. And since it's kind of like an idea of like an old key, yeah. So maybe I will just rip it out and blend it with a strand of black so that it tones down the sparkle, but still has some essence of that. I think that's what I'll do. Thanks, guys. So there's that. The next piece I have to rip out as well. You'll be seeing a preview here of what this will look like, kind of. I am stitching the Flowering Flourish by Connie G Designs on Etsy using all beads. All beads. So I have talked about doing an all beads project for quite a while now. When Danny and I first got engaged, I thought about copying that person on the Alessandra Adelaide boards. She has the design of the interlocking rings, and somebody had stitched that all in beads and Swarovski crystals. Swarovski crystals. That's a tongue twister there. I thought about doing that, but I didn't want to be the copycat. So I scrapped that idea. You guys know what I'm doing for my wedding sampler now. So I've been thinking about this beads thing, and then somebody else on the AAN boards posted the ball gown done in beads on black fabric. Oh my goodness, like stunning, absolutely gorgeous. And now Katie the Stash Queen started her project in all beads. I'm like, I want to do some all beads. Like, hello. I've been talking about doing this for like 2 years now. So I am doing this Flowering Flourish in all beads. The beads I'm using, and I didn't bring them because they make a lot of noise, but it's Mill Hill 02010, so 2010. And they are silver lined, I don't know if they're silver lined crystal or silver lined clear. Anyway, they give off the essence of silver. So that is, and that's why I started this, because it happens to go with the silver challenge. And I'm stitching this on my, I guess you could call it my remnant of, this is Under the Sea Fabrics, and it is 32 count opalescent Belfast in Darkness Falls. I'm going to do this twice because I thought it'd be really pretty to have the contrast. And since there's 2 colors on this fabric, it's kind of perfect. So with this light one, with the light side, I am stitching it using the silver beads. And so that's the progress that I got done on Friday. So you see the silver, but you can also kind of see that they're a little bit clear. Anyway, absolutely gorgeous. On the dark side, I'm going to use, I haven't decided. So if you guys have an opinion on this, let me know. Either white beads, because I thought the contrast to the dark blue would be really gorgeous, or gold beads, gold lined crystal or transparent or whatever. So what do you guys think? Should I do gold or white? Or if you have another idea. I thought about doing darker blue, but it's not terribly Christmassy. It's snowflakey, but which is really what I was going for here. I was looking for a snowflake because I thought that would be really gorgeous. So I thought about charting my own, scrapped that idea really fast because actually I didn't scrap it, but I reorganized it because the snowflake design that I was working on is too big for this fabric. It's way too big. So that will have to be a separate project in and of itself later on down the line. And then the Stitch Mania admins Katie and Garrett came up with the SALs for next year, which is overwhelming in and of itself because I want to do them all. But like, there's more SALs than days in the year. So, not sure how that's going to work. But one of the series of SALs is a Tour Day Designers. And for one of the months, and I cannot recall which one, but it's Connie G. Connie G is not a designer that I have any experience with whatsoever. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do about this snowflake, and I'm thinking about these SALs, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go look at Connie's Etsy, and first thing that pops up is this flowering flourish, and I'm like, I have my piece. This is it. So that's how this came to be. However, it's all going to have to come out. Why? You're not going to be able to see it, I doubt. I really doubt it. But in my haste, I got off. And this stretch of 5 beads right here on this side of this one thread too far out. So I thought that I would just leave it and deal with it, but it's irking me like a lot. It's irking me a lot. So that's not going to happen. I wish that I had been patient and ordered some silver-lined clear delicas because the inconsistency with Mill Hill glass seed beads, I don't know, it can kind of make things sit funny, and with this piece being so dependent on being symmetrical, I don't really want the beads to sit funny. But then again, snowflakes, every single one is unique, so maybe it'll be alright. Anyway, so it's all going to have to come out because I happened to, the way that I stitched this was that I went, yeah, two. So, yeah, that's not going to work. Gonna have to come out. One thing I will tell you guys. So if you're doing beading, and I know, for instance, Mirabilia's recommend YLI invisible beading thread. And I hate the stuff, but I love the effect that it brings. It's just like 1/1 skin. Have to suffer through it. Not anymore. So, you see, these beads, I did not use invisible beading thread. I used Nymo beading thread. So you can see it there. It's like almost invisible, but not really. This came with my Frosty Knot Garden chatelaine kit, and I thought I'd give it a try because invisible beading thread can be such a nightmare. And I'm not saying that this is like revolutionizing beading, but it's a vast improvement. And it means that you don't have to match your thread to either your fabric or the bead. You don't have to make that decision, because this will make the bead sit there on its own. And like they're not really moving. I mean, they do a little bit of wiggle just because of the nature of things, but Nymo is my new favorite thing. It comes on this little itty bitty spool. I know you can buy it on 1, 2, 3 Stitch. And also ABC Stitch Therapy. I know in particular on ABC Stitch Therapy, when you click on their Floss and Fibers tab, I believe, it's listed at the very top. It's not listed under Nymo or anything. It's at the very top. Genius. I mean, this is magical stuff. So, it's not magical. It's not really, it's not that epic. But it's a big improvement over Invisible. And so, you might be thinking, well, Jess, that should have sated your urge to bead. No, it made it worse. Because now I want to bead something like epic, like my Frosty Knot Garden, and really get to use that stuff. I did find a way to make it so that the thread locks, which is important because it's just like with the Invisible, it can slip out real easy. Not as easy as the Invisible, mind you, and it's not invisible so you can see it. But I did find a way to lock it so that that thread isn't moving, which is important. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to film that so that I can show you how to lock it if you're interested. So there's that. So that's my long spiel about my 3 new starts from last week. Okay. Next, let's see. Did I do this week's whip? Yes, I will start with this. No. I'm going to do All That Glitters. I'm going to talk to you about what I worked on for All That Glitters. So this weekend was a weekend. I got hit with, like, arguably world's worst migraine. Like, maybe I should go to the hospital and see if I can get something stronger. It was bad. It was really, really bad on Saturday. But I managed to finally get the meds working, and then, let's see, Denny and I went to his parents' house and we had a bit of a crab feast, which was awesome. If you've ever done crab picking on the East Coast, or if you haven't, you should, because it's wonderful. It's a lot of fun. Just take somebody who knows how to take down a crab, how to break it down, because you can accidentally eat the wrong thing. Anyway, so that happened on Saturday, and then on Sunday, my nephew turned 5, his birthday was on Monday, but his party was on Sunday, so we had to go to the party on Sunday. So it was a busy, busy weekend, but I managed to get some really good progress on my pick for this week, or for this past week, for All That Glitters, and I had chosen my Graceful Reindeer by Maria Diaz. Marie Barber. Typo on my update from Stitch Mania Olympics. Whoops. Anyway, I'll fix that later. This is from the November-December issue of Just Cross Stitch magazine. And I started this for Stitch Mania. You'll be seeing a preview here of what it looked like the last time you saw it. And I'm going to show it to you here. So, typical Graceful Reindeer problems. You can't see the fabric. And because you can't see the fabric, you can't see how beautifully those antlers pop on the fabric. But I made some pretty decent progress. Now, in the interest of time, on Sunday, I made this my only project. So most of this was accomplished on Sunday. And I'm going to zoom in here on his body so that you can see. I did this light blue here. And I did much and more of Sorry, I'm listening to too much Game of Thrones. Much and more of his legs. The legs are actually done except for backstitch. I know they look a little thin, but they'll look better once everything else is in. This first tassel is all but done. I'm missing the Krennic for this part right in here. You can see I did the Krennic, the pearl Krennic. It's just quite sparkly. What else am I missing? I'm missing the blue that goes there. I'm missing one of the green Krennics. I'm also missing the 2 whispers. The black whisper is used in his scarf, and the white whisper is used for a whopping like 12 stitches for his tail. But, you know, hey, I use whisper more often than one might think. So that's my graceful reindeer. And I just love him. It is arguably one of the more beautiful pieces that I have. Every time I get to pull it out, I'm like, I'm so excited. Because it's so pretty, even though you can't see the fabric. As I've said, 32 count rosewood, picture this plus. It's pinkier than it's showing. Okay, so that is last week's All That Glitters piece. Now this week's All That Glitters piece will be, it was supposed to be Snow Queen, but I decided to go with my bead kits, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But this is the first one that I'm going to start with, and if I get this one completely finished this weekend, then I'll move on to another one. But this is the one that's closest to beading, which is the sparkly bits. So that is what it is. It's Christmas Letter. I will obviously be replacing the B with an S, just like I did in real life this year. And here is the progress that I made. This was a Stitch Mania start. So, I mean, really, there's not a whole lot of stitching left to do. Lots and lots of beading to do. Everything, most everything you see there in white is beads. So that's that. And that will be my piece for this weekend. As I've told you guys, my All That Glitters is moving to the weekends because I don't want to work on so many pieces in a day. And this weekend is going to be a little interesting. Let's see, tomorrow is my brother's 27th birthday. And so this weekend we are going up to DC to celebrate. We're going to go have brunch. And yeah, but a trip to DC takes much of the day for us. So yeah, the stitching is not going to be real extensive on Sunday, and then on Saturday is Danny's fantasy football draft, and there's also the fights that night and the race that night, and he's getting together with I think 9 guys, and they all watch the fights, and a few of them watch the races, and they're doing their fantasy draft. So I will be DD. I haven't been a DD, and so this is, I shouldn't say that, but short little sidebar here, I didn't get my license until I was 21, so I never had to DD for most of college. And then by the time I was old enough to, by the time I had my license, I lived close enough to downtown Blacksburg that driving wasn't necessary. So anyway, long story short, I'm going to be DDing this weekend, so yeah, we'll see. Okay, so that is All That Glitters. Now let's get on to my whip for this week. So my whip for this week, it's week 3, which started on Monday, and it is my final 8. And for this week, I am working on Opus 2, aka Maggie, by Long Dog Samplers. And you'll be seeing a preview here, of what this looked like last time you saw it. I am stitching this on a 28 count antique white cashel linen by Zweigart. using DMC 924. And I'm going to bring this over here, but it's really not my progress because I recently moved it up the frame a little bit. Why? Because this motif down here is now complete. So when I stitched on this for the Olympics challenge, I got hardly anything done before I got bored, if I'm honest. And then on Monday and Tuesday, I was stitching like gangbusters on this, and I got a huge motif done there on the bottom. So I'm going to insert a picture here so that you can see that bottom motif. I also got several of these very small ones done around it. And then my plan, starting today, gosh, that looks so good. I love the contrast of that bluey green to the antique white. That's really something. So, let's see. This motif right here, this one right here in the center on the top, on the pattern is right there. So I think I'm going to work, I'm going to try to get this one done. And this one. Hence the reason I've got the fabric here. So the ones that are directly on the left and right of that big one in the middle. So those are my next two motifs to tackle. I want to do some of the smaller ones that are up here. There's a couple of small and medium motifs in there. I'm pointing at it. You can't see it. There's a couple of small and medium motifs in here and a couple of medium ones in there. So I'm going to try to get those done today and then try to get started on one of those big ones and see if I can't knock that out tomorrow. Oh, this makes me so happy. How good that looks. My needle minder there is a, it is from, what's her name? Gina's Unique Boutique. For St. Patrick's Day, but it's green, so hey. And a pile of needles. Why does he have so many needles? Oh, that's right. So I have all of my needle minders. They're sitting on my nightstand over there. And apparently when I switch projects, I pull my needle minder off and I put it on. I have like a metallic board over there, so I drop them on there with the needle still attached. And then I grab my needle minder for my next project and pull a new needle. So that collection of needles there are ones that were just hanging out over there for the last who knows how long. Anyway, that is Opus 2. And this will get all of my attentions up the way through Friday. So, not all of, but much of. I told Danny that tonight I want to have a stitchy night because last night we watched the finale of Are You the One? Which was 2 hours. I really wish that that show had a reunion. Like, I'd be interested to see how many of those couples stick together, you know? My guilty pleasure. As I know several of you also watch it. Anyway, that is my week 3 whip. Now, week 4 starts next Monday. And next Monday, Sunday is the very last day of the Summer Olympics Challenge. So, next Monday, it's going to be a different project every day, but I'm going to have more time to work on them, which I think is pretty cool. And in particular, this first one. So, as you guys know, my week 4 is it is a daily rotation alphabetically through the rest of my whips. And so we're picking up here in the ends, the very beginning of the N, and I will be working on my Nantucket Rose by Lavender and Lace. I'm so excited! I have missed this piece. Every time somebody's working on a Lavender and Lace, all of you Angel of Love people make me want to work on my Nantucket Rose. So, this I am stitching on 32 count flax Belfast linen by Zweigart. I do believe, yes. And this was I don't know if I want to call it a stitch along so much as a start along with Purl and Stitches, just because we both kind of went, oh. But nonetheless, this was the start that I made on it. And I started in the top corner. All of you are cringing because I started a non-hate in the top corner, but I measured like 1,000 times to make sure I could do that. So I'm going to continue working these trees over here and see if I can get my way across. Not this way, but this way. So that's that. And this is the only piece that I have to work on Monday. So there's that. And then on Tuesday, I'm working on another piece that I haven't worked on in a year. A year, people. It's crazy. Just channeling my Stitcherista there. Did you see that? That was pretty cool. So, for last year's Summer's Last Hurrah in Cross Stitch It's Fun, I had started Nora Corbett's 9 Ladies Dancing. And I haven't worked on this since. That's just bananas to me. So, this is going to be interesting because it's on a witch oat linen, which has been folded up like this for a year. That's bad. So we'll just see what happens. So the witch oat linen is 32 count China Pearl. Let me see. I got the called for 28 count China Pearl, excuse me. So it's 28 count China Pearl. And this is the progress that I had made. It wants to be folded there. Oh, that's so bad. Oh, you know, it's not that bad. It looks bad when it's left loose, but when it's stretched, it's okay. So what you see here is another Rorschach's test. I'm just calling all of my basically barely started pieces Rorschach's test. But let me explain. This is our dancer's arm. This is like the waist of her skirt. This is a part of the curtain. And then all of the inside of the skirt is filled with Kreinik. It's just bananas Kreinik all day, all day. And I am stitching her skin 1/1, which you may be able to see there, though I doubt. Is this really 28 count? Yeah, it really is. I made some big statement last year about wanting to stitch all 12 of these last year. That's funny. That's so funny. So yeah, so we will see what kind of progress I can get done with this on Tuesday. I may be, look, it just wants to go into that state. I may be working my Heaven and Earth design for a little bit each day before I work on those whips for the week, just because I really want to get that challenge done. I really want to get to my next Heaven and Earth design next week, or next month, excuse me, which is Faces of Fairy 201. I want to sink my teeth into that project, so we'll see. We'll see what I can do. Well, I guess if frames are going to drop, I may as well fix my crazy hair that won't cooperate. Like ever. I say that every time I record. So I've got just a little bit left to talk about. I have a very small bit of haul and one book that I'm reading. So the very small bit of haul is super, super exciting. And it is coming from one of our own. The ever so talented Kate from Cowgirl Kate Paints Aplenty released her first design this week. And I am thrilled. So thrilled about this. So I'm going to insert a preview here of what it will look like finished. I'm on the hunt for fabric. It may be a 2017 start, but it might be sooner than that. I don't know. I'm so excited. Her name is Pocket Watch Pixie, and she's just so cool. She's so cool. Kate said that one of her favorite elements was her boots, and I could not agree more. Love that. I absolutely love that. Oh, I just had a thought. It's going to be a 2017 start for the Stitch Mania History and Stitches Sal, I think. Yeah, I think so, because she's a steampunk pixie, and steampunk is traditionally, it's like, it's usually infused with, like, history. So, yep, okay. So, plans are set. Anyway, she's gorgeous. I'm also super, I don't know why this makes me proud, but I bought the first one. I was the first one to get it. So, yeah, very exciting. Kate is just unbelievably talented. I'm sure you guys know this. Her channel will, of course, be linked down below. She, as we all know, she does a lot of really gorgeous, I don't even know if I want to call them, like, alterations. It's more like a reimagining of well-known charts. Her Annabelle Lee, mind-blowing. I have a thing for ravens right now, so maybe that's part of it, but, like, just unbelievable. Anyway, so I got that. And as I said, I'm hunting for fabric, and I am going to visit my Hobby Lobby to see if I can procure some of the little gears. So cool. So cool. So that's that. And that's it for my haul. I am very limited on the purchasing of things these days. So, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is a book. Just a book. I am bound and determined to finish this. This I've talked about for several weeks now, and it is A Dance with Dragons, Book 5 in the Song of Ice and Fire, aka Game of Thrones Part 5, aka Game of Thrones HBO series season, like, 3. It's so far behind. But I'm almost done. I have 200 pages left. And that is a lot more than 200 pages there, but at the back of the Game of Thrones books, there is each family. It shows their sigil, and it talks about the members of the family, who's alive, who's dead. You can't read this until the end because spoilers. But nonetheless, I mean, I've watched the season, so I'm already spoiled. Like, all get out. So anyway, I have about 200 pages left. That equates to about 9.5 hours of audiobook. I'm gonna get this thing read. I'm so excited. So excited to get this finished. I was lamenting on Goodreads the other day because this book follows basically four characters. Jon Snow, Tyrion Lannister, Daenerys Targaryen, and Theon, or Reek, depending on the chapter. Theon is multi-personality now. Anyway, so it basically follows those four. Almost zero King's Landing influence here. And I miss King's Landing. And I never thought I'd say that, but, like, I miss Cersei and her crazy ways. I miss, even more southern than that, I miss Dorne and the Sand Snakes. I almost miss Joffrey. Is that weird? I miss Joffrey. Jaime, Brienne, Sansa, Littlefinger. Like, I miss so many of my favorite characters. And this one follows basically those four. So I'm lamenting on Goodreads. I'm like, I can't wait for book 6 because, like, I'm ready for some Cersei. And then, like, 2 pages later, bam, Cersei chapter. Like, just one thrown in there just to remind you that she's still alive. Ugh, it was perfect. It was straight out of the show, but it didn't matter because it was good to get back in her head because she's bananas. So, anyway, that is A Dance with Dragons by George R.R. Martin. Somebody lock him up so that he stays safe and healthy so that he can write these last 2 books because I need them. This remember watching the show and having this big question mark of why the Karstarks aligned with Roose Bolton. Why? They are relatives of the Starks, but they aligned against them by... I couldn't figure out why. I mean, kind of, but the book, like, there's like this small story that was tossed in that sort of linked all of that together. Like, I just get it now. I get it. Okay, that makes sense. I would understand why. So anyway, that is all that I have for you today. There was another thing that I wanted to discuss and another thing that I wanted to show you, but I think this one's long enough. So I will thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for commenting and for liking, for taking time out of your day to spend with me. I've said it before, I'll say it again. There are so many of us, and it means a lot that you pick me. That's pretty cool. So, thanks everybody. Happy stitching.